It's like a sharknado, except with poop.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, hey everybody, welcome to the show. Boy, do we have a good one today. So we are going to talk about, of course, Donald Trump. Already. Starting. I'm already starting, man. I'm already starting. But we've got Donald Trump's his court cases. We've got his new counsel basically admitting ain't going to do a goddamn thing. So we're going to talk about that. That's a fun story. We've also got Rudy Giuliani on what the plan is. What's the plan? What's going on here? Why are we doing all these lawsuits? Well, we know. So we're going to talk about that. And then we have, let's see, we've got Republicans that are not happy with a fellow Republican. So we're going to talk about that as well. It has to do with the Georgia recount. So, of course, we've got a lot of stuff, the lawsuits, we've got the recounts, we've got Donald Trump desperately trying to win an election that he has clearly lost. And then we're also going to talk about there's a story of a nurse in South Dakota who tweeted about the reality of Trump supporters and COVID. And she doesn't outright say Trump supporters. And I think that's important to note, but generally the people who are the pandemic deniers are Trump supporters. And so I feel very safe saying that, and how they just can't believe that they have COVID, even as they're dying of it. It's a really sad, it's a really messed up kind of story, and I definitely wanted to talk about it. And so we're going to do that. Oh no. So I'm reading some comments over here on Twitch before we get started. Kurt Bergler says, remember when I said I might be here for the streams, depending on the job? Well, he's got to go back to his job. He's got to go back to work. He's working in the middle of a restaurant. Oh, Curdy, stay safe, dude. That's a really, really dumb decision for your job to do, to make you come in during the middle of a pandemic spike. And understand that's what's going on all over the country. And by the way, the nurse story is so, it hits you in the gut. It is a gut punch. And so I'm going to go to what she, said later on when I do the segment. But just know that that's coming. And it is really, really relevant to what's going on. And so it's, Kurt, stay safe. I hope that people decide not to go and frequent these restaurants, even though, everybody deserves to make a living. I really hope that people decide that it's not worth going to the Applebee's or wherever you might work, with COVID spiking the way that it is. Yeah, I mean, it's just really bad. Silence is Violence says, there are liberals and progressives swaying towards the hoax comments too. It's insane. It's oof. Yeah, it's true though. And that's the other situation too, Kurt. I need a job. There's no stimulus. I don't know what to do. And unfortunately, this is what our politics has led to in this country, to where people can't afford to not work. But at the same time, you have these situations where people are, spreading this virus because they decide that, well, my freedom means that I can go and spread COVID around. But hey, at least I get my cheeseburger. And so it's it's horrible. It's horrible that we have forced people into a situation where they either, where they have to work or they can't pay their bills. But then the other option is also to possibly get sick and die. It's horrifying. It's horrifying what's going on here. And so I'm really, really sorry about to hear this. So that's it. Did I see about how UK lockdowns are making people crazy? No, I didn't. I didn't actually see that. That is, again, all of this is just, I understand pandemic fatigue. I feel it too. Like, I want nothing more than to go and take my wife out to a goddamn restaurant, the El Burrito down the road. Like, you realize how much I miss those fucking tacos? I love those tacos. And the nachos, like, they got like the little dipping, like, cheese that you can, oh my God. I can't do that. I can't do that because a bunch of morons decided that they would not wear their masks and they would not socially distance. They would instead go out and spread COVID around. I mean, and it pisses me off because I really want those goddamn tacos. I'm hungry, so it's never a good idea to start a show hungry, but you understand where I'm coming from. And so it's really sad. I want to get over this pandemic. I want this pandemic done, but understand that the only way that we're going to get it done is if we all mask up and, socially distance and do what we need to do in order to fight this virus. It sucks. Lockdowns can affect your mental health. They absolutely can. And that's the other thing. The longer that this goes on, the more resistance there is to it, because we already feel that we have that we can't lock down. And Donna, I agree with you. We have to have a vaccine. I agree with you 100%. I'm just like making a point of, we're all tired of lockdowns. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. We should lock down. We should do what's necessary in order to, limit the spread of this virus. We all have cabin fever. And so, yeah, we need a vaccine. We're hopefully getting a little bit closer to it. But at the same time, it's going to take at least probably another year until I think everybody, assuming the FDA approves it and all that stuff, we're gonna wait. We're gonna end up having to wait for quite some time to get a vaccine. So all we got to do is we just got to power through it. We got to make sure to mask up. We got to socially distance. We've got to do what we can to mitigate the spread of this virus, and that means staying home. It sucks, but what are you gonna do? All right. Anyway, you know what more I'm tired of than masks? A-holes not wearing masks and drawing this out even longer. Absolutely right, Infinite Content. I agree with 100%. 100%. Just, wear your masks. Socially distance. Do what you need to do. Cabin fever. My cabin has a shitload of wine. I'd say I'd love to come to your cabin, but then again, I would be breaking socially distance rules, so. Do I need to manage my time better? Do I, though? Do I really? All right, anyway. Let's do it. Let's go to the first story. Let's go to election stuff, which is always fun. All right. They say that good help is hard to find. And that's never been more true in the case of Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the results of the election. Following the departure of Trump's representation in Pennsylvania, where the president's legal team was trying to focus on throwing out enough ballots on the premise of massive voter fraud, which doesn't exist, Trump has hired new representation, a man named Mark Scarini, to push forward his case. So now the only issue, of course, is that Scarini already knows that there's no chance for Trump to win his legal challenge, again, because he has no proof of voter fraud. And he had actually said as much during a podcast on November 7th. So let me, why don't you guys take a listen?
Including Fox News, announced that Joe Biden has won Pennsylvania and Nevada and has now won the presidency. Joe Biden, according to the media, will be the 46th president of the United States of America. Now, I've been saying since Wednesday morning that Biden would win, and to my friends out there in the WHP 580 listening audience and on Facebook and Twitter, in my opinion, there really are no bombshells that are about to drop that will derail a Biden presidency, including these lawsuits. And I really don't want to get into a discussion on any of these pending lawsuits filed by the Trump campaign or the state GOPs. And I will say that some of them have merit, certainly like the lawsuits filed by our Pennsylvania Republican Party, led by our great chairman Lawrence Tabus. Several of the other lawsuits don't seem to have much evidence of substantiating their claims. And at the end of the day, in my view, the litigation will not work. It will not reverse this election.
It will not reverse this election. It's not going to work. Sad. Oops. Again, that is Donald Trump's new lawyer in Pennsylvania, who posted and then, of course, deleted a post that referred to Biden as president-elect and the 46th president. So, look, he's out there saying, or he was out there saying, yeah, Biden won. There's no evidence of voter fraud. Most of these lawsuits are garbage. They're not going to work. And so Biden basically won. So now he gets hired. And so he's like, backtrack, delete. Media Matters, of course, made sure to archive that. So he can delete it all he wants. It still exists. You can't really get rid of anything on the internet anyway. And so the question is, then why, if he truly believes this, then why would he represent Donald Trump? Well, now here's my theory, right? And it's not really complicated. These people aren't necessarily stupid. They know that there's no evidence to back up Donald Trump. They know that there's no way that Donald Trump can overturn the election. But they represent him anyway because, guess what? They want to get paid. Again, I told you, it's not really all that complicated. And they'll go through and they'll be like, oh, we've got we're going to try to make our legal arguments, and, we're going to argue in front of a judge that we should throw out some ballots. Maybe they'll win a couple on maybe some technicalities, tiered ballots, for example, where you can maybe throw out 50 to 100, ballots that maybe were improperly sealed or something like that. But at the end of the day, you're not overturning the election. And you can say, yay, look at that. We found some improper ballots. And then that's it. Again, they're not stupid, right? The lawyers aren't stupid. But they do know that Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is massively stupid. And so you also have Trump and some of his most demented followers. They're the only people that actually believe that these lawsuits have any sort of a chance. And so from what I've read and heard, Donald Trump has been switching. He's been vacillating between accepting the reality of the situation, saying, oh, fuck, I lost. Great. And then believing that, no, I can sue my way into the presidency. I can get this stuff overturned. Fox News says I can do it, so I can do it. That is absolutely mental. I don't think it's going to work. Over the weekend, you had 9 different lawsuits that were dismissed because there, again, was no evidence. A lot of the evidence evidence that presented was mostly just hearsay. There was a post-it note. And now you just had a lawsuit in Wisconsin that was dropped yesterday. HuffPost reports that 3 people in Wisconsin have withdrawn their own lawsuit that sought to overturn President-elect Joe Biden's win in the state. According to the AP, an attorney for the plaintiffs declined to say why the lawsuit had been dropped, probably because of no evidence, just minutes before oral arguments were set to begin. The lawsuit had sought to exclude election ballots in Milwaukee, Dane, and Menominee counties, the AP reported. All 3, of course, went strongly for President-elect Joe Biden, who defeated Trump by about 20,500 votes in the state. So, again, they had no evidence of voter fraud. And when you say, hey, I want you to throw out 20,000 ballots or however many, right, to overturn this election, they're going to be like, okay, well, why? What's the reasoning? Oh, we think that there's massive voter fraud. Really? Over 20,000 votes. I don't know if they were specifically trying to make that exact case to throw out exactly that amount of ballots, but they're certainly trying to make sure that they don't certify the state elections. And so, I mean, it stands to reason that they're trying to do everything they can to try to, overturn these results so that Donald Trump squeaks barely by with 270. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. But they have no evidence to do that. And even more hilarious, the state of Wisconsin is considering charging Donald Trump up front for a recount that he has asked for. So he's asking for a recount, and Wisconsin's like, we know your track record. We might want to charge you up front. The Associated Press reported also on Monday that the state will ask for about $8 million to recount the ballots where, again, Trump lost by over 20,000 votes. The price tag, they said, is 4 times higher than the recount would have cost 4 years ago, a cost increase that election officials said was driven by expenses related to conducting a recount during a coronavirus pandemic. They say that Trump needs to come up with the money and pay for it by 5 p.m. Wednesday at the latest. Is that going to happen? Nope. Very, very unlikely. You think Donald Trump is going to come up with $8 million? Maybe he'll bilk his donors into doing it. I mean, they've been sending out some pretty strong emails. But, at the same time, I don't think it's going to really lead to a whole lot. You're not going to have a recount that is effective. And Donald Trump, again, depending on his mood, may or may not, pay for it. Certainly wouldn't pay for it, up front. And that's the other thing, right? Now, before I get to that, Wisconsin election chief official Megan Wolf said, we have still not received any indication that there will or will not be a recount, but we want Wisconsin voters to know that we're ready. We're ready. Now, again, if Trump's lawyers were smart at all, then they would ask for the money up front, which there's a story, coincidentally, that came out where that's exactly what Rudy Giuliani was doing. Again, President McCheapass is known for stiffing people, and not in the Stormy Daniels kind of way. He still owes the state of Wisconsin, for example, $2 million for campaign security costs. He's like, I'm not going to pay that. Well, you have to. You used our security. We pay, we you owe us that money. And he says, no, I'm not going to pay it. No, that's Secret Service. They pay. No, it's a campaign event. That means you pay for that. Your campaign does. Yeah. Overall, though, the point is, there's no case, there's no evidence, and it is interesting to see these lawyers, unless they got paid up front, which maybe we'll find out. No reason to represent Trump whatsoever unless they get paid up front. Because if you're one of those people, if you're like, oh yeah, no, I'll take on the case. Oh no, don't worry about paying me up front. That's fine. You can pay me afterwards. Then you are the dumbest person alive, and you do not know Donald Trump. Okay. Speaking of Giuliani, let's go to that next. President Donald Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, has revealed the endgame of Donald Trump's incredibly fruitless lawsuits in the states to overturn the election, getting a case to the Supreme Court. Take a look.
And frankly, this is a case that we would like to see get to the Supreme Court. So, we're prepared in some of these cases to lose and to appeal and to get it to the Supreme Court. You might remember in Bush v. Gore, the Bush campaign lost in the state of Florida because it was a Democratic court, 5-2 if I recall correctly. So you're not going to win every one of these. I don't want to say it's because it's a Democrat judge or whatever. Some of them are just as fair as anybody. But in some cases, you win. In some cases, you lose. Most important thing is, this will be now our first established vehicle on our way to the Supreme Court. Or I should say exactly a second.
All right. So that's Giuliani. He's like, yeah, we want to take it to the Supreme Court. We want to take it to the Supreme Court. So what does he think is going to happen there? I mean, okay, so right now, what the Trump plan is to file all these ridiculous lawsuits in these states to try to overturn election results, right? Because we think he thinks that there's widespread fraud in these elections, except that they have absolutely no evidence, right? But they're saying even though we have no legal justification to try to throw out these hundreds of thousands of ballots and therefore overturn the results of the election, we're still trying to do so. We're still going to try to take it to the Supreme Court. And again, that's the end goal. Take it to the Supreme Court so the Supreme Court can try to overturn this election. What have I been saying? Now, what that would be is essentially a political coup, okay? And would completely undermine faith in the courts, in the court system. Already, people have a pretty low opinion of government, and I have a pretty low opinion of the Supreme Court at this point because you have a lot of activist judges, in my opinion. And here's the thing. This could happen. I'm not completely discounting it, although it would have to be, it would be a political coup, which would be a major thing, but I don't think it's likely that it would happen, but it could. You've got a 6-3 supermajority now. You've got, Clarence Thomas, Alito, Amy Coney Barrett. Those are the people that I'm really, really concerned with. I'm 100% sure, 99% sure that they are activist judges, right? And they are going to rule basically the way that Trump thinks that they're going to rule. That's my guess. Again, a lot of them, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Amy Coney Barrett, I believe, worked on George W. Bush's legal challenge, which allowed him to win the election. Now, this is a completely different situation. This would be absolutely unprecedented. And so that's the problem, okay? And so there, again, the whole implication, the whole idea that Rudy Giuliani has is we're going to steal the election. We're going to do it. We're going to steal it. And we're going to say that it was justified because all these ballots are fraudulent, that we had machines that are stealing votes from Donald Trump, giving them to Joe Biden. Again, there's no evidence of that. And again, the reason I keep saying that there's no evidence of it, because they would have already brought it forward in the lower courts. They would have brought forward their evidence, and they would have actually won. And so, again, I'm worried that they're going to, again, go to the court, bring no evidence, and they're going to be like, yeah, who cares? Throw them all out anyway. Again, that would be just a huge, huge coup here. And so it does worry me that Giuliani and a lot of Trump supporters, they are now counting on the court to hand them an election that they clearly lost. And so it's really, really kind of messed up because that's not the way our election should operate. And so, again, if you're not concerned, well, I would be a little bit concerned, and we'll see. We'll see. So now, what could we do to actually fix something like this? Well, get rid of the Electoral College. The way that it's set up is it makes these battleground states really, really important, right? So much so that Republicans know exactly where to focus on doing voter suppression and now using the narrow margin of ballots in order to launch these legal challenges in order to try to get as many ballots thrown out as possible. We need a change in our voting system. Again, hand-counted paper ballots, get rid of these voting machines so there's no question, eliminate the Electoral College, have people who are nonpartisan and independent come in and count ballots in front of representatives of both parties. Maybe do it on film. I don't know. So that there's a record. I'm not sure. I mean, something that makes sure that these results are accountable so that they can't continue to, push these bullshit challenges. Yes, we want transparency. We want to make sure that these votes are accountable. And so part of that, of course, is to make sure that our elections are secure. Obviously, everybody wants secure elections. But at the same time, so you don't have people screaming about fraudulent elections and wasting our time. Because the longer Donald Trump does this, by the way, and delays his concession, the more that Biden has to play catch up with national security briefings, COVID briefings, in getting his administration set up so that they can take charge on January 20th. I hope the Supreme Court does the right thing and refuses to hear a challenge based on some of these, fraudulent claims. And I mean, if it does get there, then they at least uphold some of the lower court rulings and saying that there's just no evidence to prove your spurious claims, and that's it. And so I'll also add, by the way, it'll be nice to not have to any longer have, lawyers and the courts and people try to appease the man baby. I think that's one of the reasons that more people voted for Joe Biden than anyone else. And so I think we're all like super tired of Trump and his challenges and his bullshit. He's a lame duck president. He could still do some things. He could even do some positive things on COVID and try to push the Senate to be able to approve a COVID relief bill. He could do something like that. And unfortunately, I don't see him doing that. And so the sooner we get him out, the better. Oh, we got some people spreading fake news in here. Inhale that copium, my friend. Inhale that copium. All right. Let's go to another one here. Got to put in Trump to be president to say, dude, you got to totally be a parody. Total parody account. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Love it. Last week, the state of Georgia was called for Joe Biden after he narrowly received more votes than Donald Trump. It's actually kind of a surprising result, as it's been a long time since Georgia went blue. Since then, of course, Donald Trump, since the margin was so close, demanded a recount. Okay. Now, part of his, of course, allegation is that there was massive voter fraud. There was voting machines that were alleged to have been rigged to cast votes for Biden instead of Trump, and all sorts of unfounded conspiracies, which now has put the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, in the crosshairs of conservatives. Now, again, this guy is a Republican. According to the Washington Post, Raffensperger said on Monday that he has come under increasing pressure in recent days from fellow Republicans, including Senator Lindsey Graham, who said he questioned the validity of legally cast absentee ballots. Now, the atmosphere, he said, has grown so contentious that he and his wife had been receiving death threats from Republicans, including a text to him that read, quote, "You better not botch this recount. Your life depends on it." Look, if that's not like a threat, I don't know what is. It's a veiled threat, but it's a threat. Now, Raffensperger, as they said, he's a Republican, but he's apparently fed up with people of his own party, again, continuing with these conspiracy theories. Quote, other than getting you angry, it's also very disillusioning, particularly when it comes to people from people on my side of the aisle. So now one person, of course, is another congressman. I'll get to that. But here's what he said. He said, everybody that is working on this needs to elevate their speech. We need to be thoughtful and careful about what we say. Now, I wonder if that's because there's an army of conspiracy-minded Republican voters who've been radicalized into believing that the results of this election are illegitimate. Gee, I wonder where they would get that idea. Oh, right. Fox News, conservative media, OANN, all these different outlets that basically come up with unfounded conspiracy theories. Oh, they're changing the votes. Okay, where's your evidence? Oh, we don't have it. Again, if they had evidence, they would have presented it in court already. They haven't. And so you guys remember the commercial for Wendy's, like, where's the beef? Well, they have no beef. It's missing the beef. It's not there. It doesn't exist. Okay. And I'm sorry, but if you present like an article from Breitbart or Newsmax, that's not evidence. That is conjecture. That's opinion, and is not backed up by actual, data, information, evidence. And you kind of need that because you're not actually supposed to lie under oath. And that's the other thing too. And so now these same, again, Republican voters are threatening politicians, not necessarily always in a physical way. Obviously, although we have seen some of that, but also they threaten power. And so they threaten, okay, well, if you don't go along with our conspiracies, well, then we're going to kick you out. We're going to vote for QAnon members. And they have. We're going to vote in Republican primaries to replace you with people who do spread these conspiracy theories. And so the one thing that Republican politicians care most about is keeping their own power. And that's what they do. And so Republican politicians are, and this is what's different from Republican politicians versus Democratic politicians. Republican politicians are deathly afraid of their base. I mean, because their base, again, does primary challenges and kicks them out of power. They don't do, as far as I know, at least to the extent of Democrats, the lesser of two evils, which, again, on the Democratic side, this entire election was, well, Joe Biden, like, he's the lesser of two evils, and he's not going to be as bad as Donald Trump, and I made that argument. And I stand by that argument. I think he is a lesser of evil compared to Trump, but he's not somebody that I would like to see, I'd like to have seen in the primary, for example, take on Donald Trump. I would have liked to have seen Bernie Sanders or progressive, somebody who is far more progressive, far to the left, than Joe Biden is. That said, we had this lesser of two evils thing. And so Republicans, they look at the more evil and they're like, that's my guy. Yes, we vote for more evil. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, though, they do choose people who are more aligned to them. And there's no doubt right now that the Republican Party is incredibly far right. They're off the scale at this point. And so, and it's, again, a result of Republican voters being steeped in this misinformation, disinformation, conspiracy theories, and outright hatred. And so there are people out there that don't believe in facts anymore. And those facts that they don't believe in run contrary to what they hear in conservative media, which is, again, Democrats are evil pedophiles that murder babies and want to destroy America. That's what you hear constantly from right-wing media. And so they reflect that. And so that's why Republicans vote for QAnon and why bootlickers like Lindsey Graham have decided to deep throat Trump's boot. They just love it because Donald Trump feeds into conspiracy theories as well, which has, again, some Republicans that are the establishment Republicans deeply uncomfortable because these establishment Republicans don't necessarily want to go down that rabbit hole. They just want the donations. They just want, they want the donors to continue to fund them. Like, yes, give my campaign millions of dollars so that I can continue to sit in my comfortable seat and not really do anything, cut tax other than cut taxes for myself and my donors, and then we're all happy. Oh, but now you people from the far right, well, now you're going to come in with your conspiracy theories, your QAnon, your garbage. Oh, great. What am I supposed to do? Well, Lindsey Graham's figured it out. He's like, yeah, yes, sir. Oh, yeah, totally. I'm going to totally align myself with Donald Trump, 99%. And then, I'll try to play like, oh, well, yeah, we should criticize Trump on this very specific thing. But otherwise, Trump is great. He's daddy. So there's that. But again, these Republicans who do see what's going on and are uncomfortable with it, well, they see what's going on with their own colleagues and they're scared shitless of their own base. And that's why they don't actually speak out. A lot of them have not. And even some of them, like Doug Collins, for example, has spoke out against the more moderate Republicans in this respect. In fact, Collins was called by Raffensperger a quote, liar and charlatan. So Raffensperger's like, Doug Collins of Georgia, you're a liar, you're a charlatan. And Collins, as a result, had actually questioned Raffensperger's handle of the vote and accused him of capitulating to Democrats by not backing allegations of voter fraud more strongly. Why? Well, there's no evidence. There's no evidence. There's no evidence. There's no evidence. That's the thing. If they had it, they would present it, but they don't. They don't. Look, hearsay and deceptively edited YouTube videos from Project Veritas are not evidence. This organization, look, everything that they uncover is always quickly debunked by actual journalists. And yet Republicans, the voters, they want to believe them because, well, their feelings. Well, our feelings are more important than facts. And that's it. Our feelings is that, we like Donald Trump. And so it is our feeling that he won, but he got less votes. Not only did he get 5 million less votes in the popular vote, but he also, in a lot of states, there were narrow wins, which means the electoral college votes are also going to Joe Biden. And so, yeah, it was a close race. It was far closer than it should have been. It should have been a blowout, but it wasn't. And then, of course, you also have the Senate, which is hanging in the balance. You had losses for Democrats in the House. It really was it was a disaster on Election Day for Democrats. And yet, people with the smooth brains, man, they're out there saying, oh, it's rigged. It's rigged. Well, they did a real shitty job at rigging it. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, as I said, as far as Georgia was super, super close, but ultimately went to Biden, and it was a fair election. The recount, by the way, Raffensperger says in the interview, will affirm the results of the initial count. He said the hand-counted audit that began last week will also prove the accuracy of the Dominion machines, which are, of course, being targeted by conservatives right now as like, oh, these machines, they got ties to Venezuela. Did you know that? No, because it's not true. And some counties have already reported that their hand recounts have exactly matched the machine tallies previously reported. Now, there was one mistake that they did find. Now, I'm going to leave it to you to figure out if it's malicious, but I don't believe so. Election officials in one county, Floyd, had discovered a flash drive that was not included in the initial tally. It's about 2,600 votes. Interesting. So now, apparently, there was a failure to upload them from a memory stick. Those votes, I think some of which would go to Trump, some would go to, of course, to Biden. I don't know the percentage of, but even if, for example, they all went to Trump, all 2,600, right? Well, that's not going to switch the election. That's not going to make it so that Trump pulls out a win in Georgia and overturn the results. Biden is up by over 14,000 votes. It's just math. It's just math. So, and again, there's no real evidence here of fraud or malicious intent that I can see, but it did happen. And so Obviously, I'm going to chalk it up to human error, right? So that said, Raffensperger was not done going after Collins. Here's what he said on this. I'm an engineer. We look at numbers. We look at hard data. I can't help it that a failed candidate like Collins is running around lying to everyone. He's a liar. I love Republican on Republican crime in the morning. Love it. A spokeswoman for Collins replied to a request for comment by linking to a tweet that Collins sent on Monday, in which he described Raffensperger's incompetence as Secretary of State. Okay. And in the interview, by the way, going back to Lindsey Graham, now Raffensperger said he spoke on Friday to Graham, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who has talked about, of course, Donald Trump's unfounded claims about irregularity. In their conversation, Graham had questioned Raffensperger about the state's signature matching law and whether or not political bias could have prompted poll workers to accept ballots with so-called non-matching signatures. According to Raffensperger, Graham also asked whether Raffensperger had the power to toss all mail-in ballots in counties that have found to have higher rates of non-matching signatures, Raffensperger had said. So now, look, he was kind of stunned. Like, why is Lindsey Graham calling me? Why is Lindsey Graham suggesting that I find a way to toss legal ballots? Absent court intervention, Raffensperger does not have the power to do what Graham says because those counties administer elections in Georgia. But why, then, is Lindsey Graham making these calls, is asking him to do this? In an interview on Capitol Hill, before that, Raffensperger said about that, it sure looked like he was wanting to go down that road. Now, Graham responded and said, well, you know what? I deny that. That characterization is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Graham said he contacted Raffensperger on his own and was not asked to do so by Donald Trump. Okay, wait a minute. That's a bit of a tell. That's really strange. What did somebody accuse Donald Trump of calling and asking Lindsey Graham? Is that what Raffensperger said? Like, did Donald Trump call you and ask you to do that? What do you mean? Like, if you bring it up unprompted, which is what this suggests, then that would be odd. Like, wait, who got Donald Trump involved? What did he actually do that now? Wait, what are we doing? What are you talking about, dude? Why is the senator from South Carolina, by the way, calling the Secretary of State of Georgia anyway? Why? No, it's definitely Trump bootlicking for sure. But I don't know if Donald Trump actually ordered it or not. I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to please daddy. I don't know. But one thing is clear. If you are a Republican that decides to break from Trump and actually embrace reality and sticks to facts and logic and reason, you're going to get canceled by the MAGA mob. And that's what this is about. What, you think cancel culture is only reserved for what? People on the left? No, you're kidding me, right? No. Republicans are some of the biggest purveyors of cancel culture. They cancel people all the time. Ironically, Donald Trump is hugely into cancel culture. I mean, he's got Republicans to cancel John Bolton, John Kasich, and basically anyone else that doesn't buy into the conspiracies about the election. If you actually believe in facts and logic and math, and you don't, and you say, hey, wait a minute, I don't see any evidence of massive voter fraud, then you will be canceled by the MAGA mob. And that's it. And this, again, Republican Secretary of State is getting into fights with former congressmen and also getting death threats from MAGA. And other Republicans, they'll see this message and they'll get it. And they'll either do one of two things, right? They'll side with, facts and logic, which I think is rare, but some will. Or the rest will follow Donald Trump off a cliff, lest they be canceled by the base. Because again, that's what they're really afraid of. All right. I'm going to take a break real quick here. We'll be back in a couple minutes. So stay right here. I'm going to, of course, see if there's any super chats, read those, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll get back. We got a couple more stories left, so don't go anywhere. Around the nation. We'll be right back.
Amazing.
Give me a break.
I like my meat tight.
There's some whores in this house.
everybody, welcome back to the show. On the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very helpful if you do so. Let's see. Let me go back here and thank Kathy Harvey over on Twitch for gifting a sub. That's awesome. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. Let's dive into the rest of the show. Let's get right back into it. All right. A nurse in the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic recently spoke out in a viral Twitter thread about COVID denial. So this is nurse Jody Daring, and she works as an emergency room nurse in South Dakota. So now on Sunday, she tweeted out an exasperated thread talking about her dismay at patients who refuse to believe that coronavirus exists. And not only that, but they refuse to, when they're in the hospital, believe that they have coronavirus. Now, that thread, well, it went viral, for lack of a better term. And here's what she said about this during an interview on CNN. Let's take a look.
You said that even now that the hospital is being overrun with COVID patients. They come in, they're horribly ill, they're gasping for breath, and yet they don't believe they have COVID?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing to watch is that people are still looking for something else and they want a magic answer and they don't want to believe that COVID is real. And the reason I tweeted what I did is it wasn't one particular patient. It's just a culmination of so many people. And their last dying words are, this can't be happening. It's not real. And when they should be spending time FaceTiming their families, they're filled with anger and hatred. And it just made me really sad the other night. And I just can't believe that those are going to be their last thoughts and words.
Anger and hatred towards you?
I think it's just a belief that it's not real, and nursing happens to be on the receiving end of that. And that's okay. We can take that. That's what you're there for. It's just in the bigger picture when you try to reason with people of, can I call your family, your kids, your wife, your friend, your brother? And they say no, because I'm going to be fine. And you're watching their oxygen levels, maxed out on what we call vapotherm at 100%, and their oxygen level might be 75. That's not really that compatible with life.
Jesus. All right. So, look, she also added that she had patients that were grateful and thankful for the care they received, but she still has these people. And said that, quote, the ones that stick out are those who still believe the virus is real. The ones who scream at you for a magic medicine, which doesn't exist, and that Joe Biden is going to ruin the USA. All while they're gasping for breath. And they tell you there must be another reason. I don't have COVID. I don't have COVID. COVID doesn't exist. It's a fake news. Fake news. They also call you names. Here's what she said. They also call you names and ask you why you wear all that stuff, because they don't have COVID, because it's not real. Yes, this really happens, and I can't stop thinking about it. So that's part of her thread, okay? And this, I know this should be a wake-up call, and I know that the people that we are trying to wake up desperately will not heed this. They will stay asleep, and they will, ignorantly spread falsehoods about coronavirus, as well as ignorantly spread the coronavirus around by demanding that they go into the Applebee's, and that they, go back to work, or that people go back to work, go back to school, all that stuff. And so they're going to continue to do this. And that's the frustrating part. I can see the frustration. I can understand. And unless you know somebody or are actually on the front lines yourself, you don't really know. Okay. And that's really, I think, one of the ways that these, I would think that these people would find out. But apparently, even getting COVID themselves and going to the hospital is not enough for some of them to believe. And to say, oh, it turns out that Donald Trump was wrong. Conservative media was wrong. Fox News was wrong. It does exist. It is a real thing. And I have it because I was dumb. And I did dumb things. And I didn't wear my mask. And I didn't socially distance because I don't believe in that stuff. It's amazing to me. And look, I shouldn't be surprised that it happens, but it does. You know, in a way, but the way that it gets described is a gut punch. I mean, the disbelief that these people feel as they're dying of COVID. Oh, it's not COVID. It can't be COVID. Fake news. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It's just a flu. It really gets you when you hear these personal stories. I mean, you know, you still feel it though when you see this going on. And it's just absolutely horrifying to see the ignorance of these people cost them their lives and also, you know, cost other people around them their lives as well. I mean, it's just, here's one particular set of tweets that really kind of hit home. It's where she said, quote, "These people really think it isn't going to happen to them. Then they stop yelling when they get intubated." Yeah. And even then they're probably thinking fake news. I mean, it's disgusting. It's just horrible. Why? This is a result of anti-science, anti-intellectualism, and believing in these nonstop conspiracy theories that come from, you know, highly paid people, highly paid news actors that go around and get paid by these think tanks to just spread misinformation. I mean, it's finally, here's what she also said. She said she described it as a, quote, fucking horror movie that never ends. There's no credits. You just go back and do it all over again. Which is what she said she will do for the next 3 nights. And look, it's not over. It's nowhere near. We're in the middle of a massive, massive spike. We're in the winter from hell. I mean, listen to Dr. Anthony Fauci. He's one who said, hey, we're going to enter a really bad period. Maybe now we should have taken this seriously. We should have worn masks. We should have socially distanced. We should have, made sure, and I know it's tough, but don't go into large gatherings that are indoors. And if you're going to go outside, still wear your mask. I mean, again, now it's wintertime. Now people are, it's getting close to wintertime. It's cold out. People are gathering indoors. Like, look, you shouldn't do that. It sucks to not do that. And I understand. But, you can't. Or else you're going to spread this virus around to your family members, to your friends. And so, I mean, it's not over. It's not over. And it's going to get far, far worse. This is what being anti-science is, by the way, during a pandemic. This is what being a Trump-supporting Republican is like. And again, these are the people who don't believe in the virus. Massive majority. And look, I know Trump supporters personally. One happens to be a nurse who questioned the COVID lockdowns in Michigan. And then, well, now that we're in the middle of a massive spike here in Michigan, she's like, wear your damn mask. We're getting slammed here. There are, tons of people that are coming through our doors with COVID. For God's sakes, wear your mask. Wear your masks. And so, and it's going to get worse. And yet, here we had the president, up until recently, doing massive super spreader events, super spreader rallies. I mean, we just had the so-called Million MAGA March, where 10 to 12,000 Trump supporters, unmasked, went around, close proximity, protesting against, the election, basically. And that's just, again, one of the most recent events that Trump held. Trump didn't hold the Million MAGA March, but Trump did hold a lot of campaign rallies leading up to the election. And now we're seeing, of course, the result of that. And he doesn't care about COVID. Despite the fact that he had COVID and sent this very message to his followers, oh, don't worry about it. I got over it. I'm fine. So you'll be fine too. Well, no. The average American does not get airlifted to Walter Reed Medical Center. The average American does not get experimental treatments and drugs for free. Okay, the average American ends up in the ER in the pit. You know what the pit is? It's where they put COVID patients that are too far to be saved, where no doctor or no nurse enters, and they die there alone, without their family members, because family members can't come in, without, without being able to say goodbye. That's where they go. They die. That's what happens. That's what happens. And these are the same people, again, that curse and scream about how COVID is a hoax, and then are the ones, of course, that die. This is what's going on in this country. And you wonder why the rest of the world looks at us as we're backwards. I mean, not only is this happening, is there just a massive anti-science fervor, but also you look at our healthcare system, which is also completely backwards. And so, yeah, it is. I mean, the conditions were absolutely perfect for COVID to just ravage our population. And again, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And so I don't know what else to say. Some fucked up shit, man. All right. Look, that's all I got time for. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Appreciate the super chat here. I believe there was a super chat that flew by. I don't know. I can't see it. I know I saw it pass by, but... Oh, here we go. Dr. Zippy McScoot says here in South Dakota, our Governor Kristi Noem was praised by Republicans for her hands-off approach to handling the virus. Well, now we see the absolute results of that. And of course, here in Michigan, our governor is continuously being attacked, Gretchen Whitmer, for trying to be competent in handling the virus. And I mean, the same people, man, are going to end up in the ER gasping for breath. It's fucking ridiculous. All right. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate that. As well as, of course, people, gifting subs in our Twitch chat, bits, all that wonderful stuff. Thank you. Please like and subscribe to the stream. Very, very helpful if you do so to the show. Obviously, we're always gonna move forward with your support, and we're always gonna count on you to continue to help us grow. So thank you so much. Love you guys, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you later. Stay safe.
Wet ass P-word.
Eurovicia, they say, pronounce it Eurovicia, a real beautiful company. Mike Pounds. Your sunlights.
I will eat your ass.
Please clap.
They're kicking me out the door.